That ivory burn that happened earlier on in the afternoon, led by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Before we go to the story prepared for us tonight, let me just run you through the other ivory burns that we've witnessed in the country. 1989 being the first ivory burn that we saw, led by then President Daniel Arap Moi. 12 tons of ivory were burnt then, and of course this was the same year that international ivory trade was banned. So significant then. We saw in 2011, the following president, now retired President Mwai Kibaki as well, torch 5 tons of ivory. Now, a little bit more about this particular burning. This ivory had been seized from smugglers in Singapore in 2002, and its roots were traced back to Malawi and Zambia as well. So Kenya just playing part of that cooperation with the rest of African countries, saying instead of returning it to the originating country, deciding to set it on fire, adding it to its stockpile. And so from 2002 2011, it had been in storage and being torched then. So retired President Mwai Kibaki as well having an ivory ban. And President Uhuru Kenyatta, as we witnessed today, was not his first ban. Last year, 2015, we saw him as well set on fire, ablaze 15 tons of ivory. Another time, this had been the largest stockpile of ivory to be set ablaze. And of course, at the time, he had promised the poachers will not have the last word, and also declaring that there would be a bigger burn, which is what we witnessed today, with ivory stockpiles from the various storage points of the KWS being transported to Nairobi. Let's go to that last slide here on my super wall and just see part of the scenes that we witnessed today from the Nairobi National Park. So just part of that ivory there being set ablaze, 105 tons of ivory, the biggest ever stockpile in the world to be set ablaze. And the president, in his speech there, getting to some of the criticism, those who have said that torching this ivory does not necessarily put an end to poaching, as it's something we have seen happen now 4 bans in Kenya's history. But he said this is the way Kenya is choosing to go. It will not sell as some have proposed, so that to have that money brought back into the economy, but instead choosing to ban it as a strong message to the smugglers, to the poachers and their networks, and also as a way to say Kenya and the world is keen and is focusing on protecting the national heritage. So there, a brief history of just some of the bans that have been witnessed in the past. Let's now take you to that report that was prepared earlier by our Joy Doreen Biira, where that stockpile was set ablaze. So all eyes around the world turning to Kenya as the biggest ivory tusks as well as rhino horn stockpiles were set ablaze to send a message to the rest of the world to stop the trade in ivory. The event, led by President Uhuru Kenyatta, was witnessed by Gabon President Ali Bongo and French Environment Minister Marie Royale, among other dignitaries. And KTN's Joy Doreen Biira filed this report for us.
April 30th, 2016 shall be remembered as the historic day that saw 105 tons of ivory tusks, 1.35 tons of rhino horn destroyed at Nairobi National Park, the biggest stockpile destroyed the world over, sending a message that ivory has no intrinsic value except to the elephants themselves. The event was witnessed by dignitaries from around the world.
The height of the pile of ivory before us marks the strength of our resolve. Before you, ladies and gentlemen, is the largest haul of ivory and horn ever to be destroyed in this manner. And our reason is crystal clear. No one, and I repeat again, no one, has any business trading in ivory, for this trade means death of our elephants, and death of our natural heritage.
Often poachers take ivory and leave the body of the elephant to rot. The symbolism of our mighty elephants falling and decomposing is very strong. And if we let criminals and militia slaughter our natural heritage, how can we be sure our nations are not destined to go the same way?
We hope, as has been said, other countries will come along with us so that we can eventually eradicate all trade all illegal trade in wildlife so that we can preserve our wildlife and our heritage.
While Kenya's tourist numbers have dropped from 1.8 million in 2011 to 771 in 2015, losing wildlife heritage would be a double tragedy for a country whose bigger chunk of foreign exchange comes from wildlife tourism.
They say Kenya's ivory that we're burning represents 5% of the international stockpile held in Africa. That would amount to 160,000 elephants. And if they were to join head to tail, they would go from Nairobi to Dar es Salaam. That is a shame. It is a disgraceful shame that this continues.
In January 2015, I banned all export certificates in France and asked all European states to do the same. And I am pleased to announce today one step more. I am going to set a ban on any kind of ivory trade in France.
While this is the biggest stockpile ban ever, it is the fourth ivory banning event in Kenya. In March 2015, President Uhuru Kenyatta led Kenya in banning 15 tons of elephant tusks and rhino horn. And in 2009, former President Mwai Kibaki banned 5 tons of contraband tusks traced and returned from Singapore. In 1989, former President Daniel Arap Moi banned 12 tons of ivory, the very first stockpile to be burnt. In 1989, elephant population had dropped to 16,000 from 167,000 in 1973. However, the past 10 years, the number of African elephants has dropped by 60%.
This burn symbolizes the dream of a Kenyan Wildlife Service ranger that his or her children will one day see the African elephant and rhino in their natural habitat.
It is assumed that tourists' primary motivation for visiting Kenya is indicative of the proportion of overall tourism revenue attributable to the national parks. The past 4 years alone have seen 943 elephants and 147 rhinos killed, though the number in 2015 has reduced partly due to enactment of tougher laws by the Kenyan government. Joy Doreen Biira, KTN News.